Today on America's Day at the Races, we'll bring you the latter half of the card from Aqueduct and from Tampa Bay. In the feature from South Ozone Park, Mystic Knight, he may be the morning line favorite, but he's going up against a difficult field where he'll need to bring his best to return to the winner's circle. Among his foes, Hammer and Ammer, who seems to have found the fountain of youth, coming off one of his lifetime best efforts in his 8-year-old debut. And we'll preview Saturday's road to the Kentucky Derby as Jerome winner Courvoisier tries to make it 3 straight wins in the Grade 3 Withers and continue on a path to the first Saturday in May. All that and more coming up on this edition of America's Day at the Races here on FS2. It's brought to you in part by America's Best Racing. For the love of the race, visit americasbestracing.net today. Good to be with you on this Friday afternoon. Wet track here in New York as we get set for the start of the Pick 4 coming up here momentarily. Greg Wolf alongside New York Racing Association handicapper Andy Serling in our feature today. Actually a really intriguing race. And we mentioned Hammer and Ammer in the open, an 8-year-old who just ran one of the best figures he's ever run.
Yeah, I don't like it. This is the kind of racetrack where you don't want to have overly strong anti-opinions because a lot of weird things are going on here. I don't think Hammer and Ammer in comparison to these horses. Yeah, he ran big last time. I get it. He also got an unbelievably good trip in this race and a great setup. And I just feel like he's meeting much, much tougher horses. Greg, this is a tremendously competitive card we're looking at today.
It is, and this feature is just one of them that makes it a very difficult sequence. I will say this for Hammer and Ammer. That horse swung him out about 3 or 4 paths in the stretch, and he still showed the grit to get by and win that race.
He did. He did. The race was falling apart. It was run in a very favorable manner for him. Listen, I mean, he's in good form. Anything's possible. I don't want to take any big stances against horses. I like Tiergan in this race, who I think gets a big rider upgrade and ran very, very well 2 back. But there are a lot of cases to be made. I think the one thing you and I agree on, if Mystic Knight is favored in here, he's a good horse to bet against because his recent form is really declining. His last race was dismal.
Yeah, we'll see. That's an intriguing feature coming up in the 8th on today's card. Let's take a look at everything we have coming up, presented by Claiborne Farm with today's remaining races on the program. We'll show you what happened in the 5th to kick off the late Pick 5 momentarily. Then it's Pick 4 time. Races 6 through 9 comprise that sequence on this sloppy sealed racetrack. That 8th we were talking about with Hammer and Ammer. And Mystic Knight, that feature in Tampa Bay in Oldsmar, Florida, their 7th, the feature, and the long-awaited return of a Chad Brown turf runner we have not seen since April of last year.
Good Governance has been a horse that's been his worst enemy, not just during his racing career, but heard some pretty crazy stories about things this horse did to get himself in trouble before he even raced. I remember Chad Brown telling me a really crazy story about him in Florida. He's a superbly talented horse, but a 6-year-old making just his 6th start. To say how good he is, when he broke his maiden first time out, he beat Doswell, who's now a Greatest Stakes winner.
For Barkley tag. We'll talk more about that horse, his return, if he's ready to go off the bench when we come back. Don't forget, you can play it all with Naira Bets. Go to nairabets.com, get signed up, started. Group hug, Mike Maker. He'll have Kendrick Carmouche aboard his 4-year-old son, a Speedster, coming up in a race that will kick off the Pick 4 when we come back.
A Grade 1 winner of nearly $2 million, Silver State hails from the sire line of legendary Claiborne Stallion Danzig. And his second dam is full sister to Kentucky Derby winner Monarchos. After winning the Oaklawn Handicap, Silver State defeated Knicks Go in the Grade 1 Metropolitan Handicap. On the board in 12 of 14 starts from ages 2 to 4, his career included a 6-race winning streak. Grade 1 winner Silver State, standing at Claiborne Farm.
We're back on America's Day at the Races on FS2. Our program brought to you in part by Claiborne Farm. 100 years of doing the usual, unusually well. Late pick 4. It is next here at the Big A. 1-turn mile, 50,000 starter allowance group. And let's take a look at the field that will line up. The entry, Mr. Candy Ride, Royal Trist, they faced each other 2 starts back, and they were 1-2 in that race.
I agree. Now, Royal Twist ran back here, and he just was so far behind. It was impossible to make up ground, though that running style may suit today. It seems like the wider the better. I like the 5, 7, and 8 here. This is one of the few races where I felt I had a reasonable chance to have the winner, narrowing it down to 3. It's that kind of competitive card.
It is. We just had a 10-to-1 shot start off the late pick 5 back in race 5. Let's get in with Jonathan Kinchin for the first time on the program. JK, how do we construct this pick 4 today?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's a pretty tough sequence, like Andy mentioned. Very competitive, although sometimes these sloppy racetracks can be a little bit one-sided. I didn't feel that way about this sequence. I'm going to spread in this first leg 1, 3, 7, and 8. I think the 7 is interesting, extreme. Has some tactical speed, should be able to stretch out, and has some mile races at Keeneland and Churchill that make this horse make some sense in here. On to the second leg, race 7. I thought the 5, Early Edition, who was wide last time, and we've talked about it a lot on this show, how the racetrack has been favoring inside speed. The 5, Early Edition, was one of the horses that was wide on one of those days. I thought the 5 and the 6, Chloe Rose also made some sense. I'm going to use the 2, 5, and the 6 in the feature. I think Mystic Knight, like Andy said, the form has kind of tailed off, but this horse does have a good sloppy racetrack race, and I'm just hoping this horse will run a little bit better. I'm going to make sure I use the 2 and the 5. The 5 prioritize switching to Rudy Rodriguez. And then I thought the last race was pretty tough. The 6, Phenomenal Woman, feels like the horse that you could maybe lean on from a connection standpoint, but the speed figures aren't particularly fast. I wanted to make sure I had the 1, 3, 6, and 10 to wrap up the pick 4.
Jonathan, are those tacos or cheese dip on your shirt?
It's a phenomenal question, Wolfie. They do look a little bit like tacos, but if you get a little bit closer, you'll notice that they're mountains.
Oh, interesting. I thought it also could have been a chip in a cone of cheese dip.
I mean, I wanted to ask that question, too. I'm so glad you answered that for me. I can
good
sleep
luck.
well tonight.
Good luck in the pick 4, Jonathan. We'll get back to you in just a little bit. We're going to take a quick timeout. We answer the tough questions on this show. More coming up on this field for the first leg of this pick 4. Good prices abound in this one. I thought Pier 40 had a big chance. 5-to-1 right now in the 3. We'll be back.
Good Magic's in front. Good Magic pulls away from Solovini. Good Magic's gonna win his first race, and he's gonna do it in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
Good Magic to the front of the field in the Toyota Bluegrass to win it.
The champ is back. Good Magic in a good-looking performance.
800,000, 75, 875, 8.5. Pete, 775,000. Thank you.
Magic's in front.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit nairabets.com.
Harris Farms, proudly standing Smiling Tiger, a triple Grade 1 winner, defeating Breeders' Cup champions Dancing in Silks and Amazombie, a leading California sire with over $9.7 million in progeny earnings, with 94 winners in 2021 and graded stakes superstars like Spice Perfection.
Spice Perfection wins the Grade 1 La Brea.
And Tiger Dad. Smiling Tiger, a leading California sire, standing at Harris Farms. It pays to be Cal bred.
This season at Oaklawn, we've got more of everything. More of the top thoroughbreds in the world. More days of live racing. And the largest purses in our history. All at a completely reimagined Oaklawn. Come be a part of this historic season at Arkansas's only casino resort.
great setting for the horse. When Mr. Gaines built it, he built it with the horse in mind. And everything about it is just natural to the horse.
The history here runs deep. I just hope we can add a page to it.
The Gainesway roster at the moment is a very youthful roster. We have a lot of young horses. With that youth, you never know where the next great stallion is going to come from.
Stallion, like Tappet, comes along once in a lifetime. We all realize we would be extremely, extremely fortunate to ever be around another horse that good. But it's our goal. It's our goal to try to get another Tappet.
He was an extremely highly accomplished 2-year-old.
Tappet, tons of horse all the way around the track, comes home for a cruise in the futurity.
I've loved Tappet. First crop I remember seeing start and bound at the first 2-year-old sale. She worked 3/8 and worked awesome. I was like, that's a really neat filly. Tappet as a stallion, he's unbelievable. You know, 8 champions. And he's like fine wine, he gets better with age.
The goals are straightforward. We're going to expand our stallion roster through syndication. Anthony wants to aggressively build this stallion roster.
And really buy stallion prospects at a younger age via yearling sales, 2-year-olds, or even breeding our own at home. Right now, we're really focusing on that because, you know, Gainesway's been an unbelievable consignor as long as Brian's been in charge. Now we're trying to bring Gainesway to the forefront in all aspects of the industry.
In my career at Gainesway, initially was building our sales program. In the Keeneland sales and Fasig-Tipton, you get pretty amped up trying to achieve your clients' goals. Last year we were the second leading consignor of thoroughbreds in North America. That helps us all sleep better.
Thank you, gentlemen. $1,650,000.
Consigned by Gainesway.
We're ambitious to go get new stallions. We're ambitious to get very high quality stallions. And we're ambitious to carry on a great tradition here at Gainesway that Mr. Gaines started. The Beck family has continued on.
I'm excited about all of them. Caraconti's off to a wonderful start. I'm excited about Tappert's chances at stud.
Horses like Tappet, who was a $1.2 million yearling and a classic winner, and is by Tappet himself.
McKinsey is a stallion prospect. It's the first stallion prospect I was part of at Gainesway. He was always top class. His Whitney at Saratoga is one of my favorite races of his.
McKinsey has won the Whitney!
The Book of Mary guy was unbelievable. We're really excited about him at Gainesway right now.
You never know where the next good horse is coming from, and as long as we're out there bringing them in, the sky's the limit.
We're getting set for the pick 4 coming up. And we'll get to the post parade here in a moment. Approaching the 5-minute mark to post. We moved up or cut down the time between races to try and speed things up a little bit today. Tell everyone what happened yesterday in the finale.
Well, I mean, the fog was extremely bad, so we had to cancel. And for people wondering, Greg and I take the train home. You couldn't even see the lights of the train until they got about 100 yards from the station. That's how foggy it was. But I want to say, Greg, I just had one of my favorite moments ever with you on this TV show. We're upstairs in our studio here, and the sound is on. And it's a little loud, so it can be a little distracting, which is understandable. And Greg just sort of threw up his arms in frustration at me because he was annoyed because his voice was playing too loudly over the PA here at Aqueduct.
I annoyed myself.
Trust me, I've spent my life annoying myself, so I'm with you.
5 minutes away from this post parade here coming up, and wet track today. See how that changes things a little bit. But for the most part today, where have you needed to be on this racetrack?
You needed to be outside. It was the case yesterday. You know, we've talked so much about the gold rails. And listen, there's not a lot we can do. I mean, we've had 6 weeks of basically unending, difficult weather to deal with. It's been, you know, weather's been cold, but we've got a cancellation. This is the first week since the opening week that so far we haven't canceled, and that's good news. But you need to be outside, and you're seeing all the outside runners. And it's tricky, and some of the riders are pretty aware of it, but you got the right horses. We've seen the first 2 legs of this pick 6, an $80 horse had a 10-to-1 shot win, a likely double carryover tomorrow, and I don't think it's getting a lot easier. Could you have predicted that the entry would be a heavy favorite in this race?
Just the fact that both of them have a big chance to win the race. Right. It's going to get overbet, right?
I guess. I mean, the 1-8 ran so badly last time out. Now, maybe people are looking and saying, well, he's got the running style, but it's not the horses are necessarily coming from the clouds. We saw the last 2 winners were right on top of the pace. They were just out in the middle of the racetrack, and I mean the absolute middle of the racetrack.
Yeah, well, for Mr. Candy Ride, who's the straight one of the entry, ran the best figure he's ever run and was on a sloppy track. It was at Churchill back in November. But both these two have been effective on an off track as well.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to be surprised when they win. And I think, like you, I prefer Mr. Candy Ride. But I think it's worth noting that Linda Rice claimed a number of horses at Churchill Downs, and she has not had any success with those horses. And it's not an easy thing to do, to go to another circuit. You're not as familiar, and to claim horses. So she hasn't done that well with them. I'm not excited by them. Jonathan and I actually agreed in a lot of horses he mentioned when he was talking about his pick 4. I like Extreme a little bit because I think he's the controlling speed and he's done well at a mile. And Manny Franco and Ray Handel, you have to think they'll get together and want to stay out in the middle of the track. But Blue Grotto at 6-1, I thought he got an over-aggressive ride last time out, and Blue Grotto. You talk about horses running back to figures. What if Blue Grotto runs back to his figure of his race 2 back, Greg?
Yeah, he's probably wins the race.
Right.
Yeah, he's 7-1 right now. And, I mean, that's interesting. So is the fact that the 6 seems to be overmatched. Coming off a maiden claiming win against New York Breds, and his morning line's cut in half.
Yeah, now he rode a good rail last time. I didn't really like his chances in this race, but, I mean, I guess nothing would shock me. I think Group Hug is dangerous for Mike Baker in here. What's wrong with him getting back to the dirt?
That barn always dangerous. That's the one we talked about going to break. He's 7-1. Let's head downstairs. Paddock report time with Maggie Wolfendale.
Thanks, Greg. And yes, we do have those accelerated post times, so not a lot of time to look at these horses. So I was chuckling to myself as you said, coming up with a Paddock report, or excuse me, post parade. The horses weren't even in the paddock yet. So we'll take a look, though, at the Linda Rice duo. Mr. Candy Ride comes in off of that layoff. He was supposed to run on January 13th and was listed as a vet scratch, but now he comes back with a new ownership as well. So we'll see if that means anything at all. And as Andy said, we have not seen these horses run particularly well that Linda brought up from Churchill, but also her horses have been kind of underachieving throughout this meet so far, but I can't say that they look any worse for wear because everyone she brings over here looks great. I mean, same thing can be said for Mr. Candy Ride. Strong coming in off of a layoff here. Looks like a happy, healthy horse. Everything you want to see. And 2, he's shown the ability to handle a very wet and sloppy track as he did finish second to Royal Tryst last time they met. But Royal Tryst we've seen here. Now he's had no early speed whatsoever. So Linda opts to put blinkers on. He is sharper, at least in his disposition pre-race here than he was back on January 13th. So I think that is a positive sign, but boy, he's really going to have to turn things around. But again, a horse who has shown a bit of an affinity for a wet track in the past. Number 5, Group Hug, I think is interesting too, getting back to the dirt. You look at the race 3 back where he broke his maiden in a maiden special weight. It is a decent maiden special weight. I mean, I think he doesn't look like a turf horse whatsoever. I think this is the right surface for him. We'll find out if he does handle a really wet track, but I don't see why he wouldn't. He looks like a horse where the 7/8 to the 1-turn mile, which he gets here today, is ideal. He ships in here in fine fettle coming up from South Florida. So I like what I'm seeing from Group Hug. I think he's really interesting here as Greg jocks are coming out here to the paddock.
All right, Maggie, thanks. Entry 9-5 in here, as we've already told you. Look, both halves can win. Only 3/4 of a length separated them when they met back on November the 21st on a sloppy track. They ran 1-2 that day. As you see, Jose Gomez talking over strategy with Linda Rice. And there is this race that I just mentioned in that slop at Churchill.
They ran well. They both got good trips, but they both ran well. And it's not like Mr. Candy Ride came as far back as Royal Tryst. It's just hard for me to endorse the 1A off the last race, and at this price, I wouldn't endorse the 1, though he can win, because I just think they're an underlay. Trevor McCarthy told me after he rode Royal Tryst last time, and I know he was way back, that race really collapsed. He still didn't get close. He said the more I tried to push him early, the farther back he kept dropping. I just have trouble being confident about that horse, and maybe the money's a good sign, but I think there's more going on in this race.
Did they ever think they'd wind up being stablemates after that finish?
Well, what's interesting is they were both entered, I believe, and they weren't an entry. When Royal Tryst ran last time, Mr. Candy Ride was scratched out of the race, and I think they weren't an entry. So there must have been some change since that race.
Here we go with our post parade, and we will see the entry first. Mr. Candy Ride. So he got beat by a horse now, a stablemate Royal Tris, by 3 parts of a length. Got an 85 buyer in that win, claimed out of that race.
It's a repeat of that performance would make him very tough.
Stablemate has Jose Gomez, the Apprentice, aboard. Blinkers go on.
The problem with that is, unlike Mr. Candy Ride, that big figure he got that day at Churchill is an aberration. He's never run close to that in any other race.
The rail goes to High Tide for Carlos Martin.
High Tide had a similar running line to Pure 40 in their race last time, was close, but finished over almost 7 lengths behind him.
Here is Pure 40. He was second last out. He was actually 4 wider on that first turn.
He's a massive overlay at 6-1. I'm not a Pure 40 fan. I've sort of got something against him from all his years of hanging, but his last race is the best race he's ever run.
Confectioner, big price, 35-1.
He's the only total outsider in this race.
Group Hug, Kendrick Carmouche for the Maker Barn.
I like the return to dirt for this horse. He was way over his head 2 races back, and I think his races on dirt are comparable to this field.
12-1 on the 6 next door, 42 ace Mike Luzzy. Just broke his maiden.
I always have respect for Charlie Baker when he claims a horse, but this horse was very much with the racetrack against softer last time.
Extreme. You made a case for, and this price has come way down. He was 6-1 morning line. He's 5-2 right now.
Yeah, I never thought he'd be this short. I would have picked the 8 if I thought there would be this discrepancy in price here, but I thought he could wire the field.
Still waiting to get a look at him. He's out there somewhere.
He's hiding.
There he is. Son of Spites down for Ray Handel.
It's about time we got to this post parade, by the way, Greg.
Manny Franco.
Been waiting for this.
On board. And here's the 8, Blue Grotto. We get here eventually. And Speed outside.
You know, I'm not knocking Kendrick Carmouche. This is a resulting comment, and I think Kendrick would agree. It was an inside speedy track last time. That's why he said him. But I'm sure if the race was over and it collapsed, Kendrick said, why was I so aggressive? But that's the way things go. He was trying to do the right thing. He'll get back to that running style outside. He's got the right rider in Trevor McCarthy, and he's a massive overlay.
8-1, pick 4. Again, begins here. Let's go back to Jonathan.
Yeah, guys, look, I like the 7 Extreme, and the price is probably a tad shorter than I would like for it to be, but from a handicapping standpoint, who I think is the most likely winner, I have to side with the 7 Extreme. I know Andy looks at Time Form US. This horse is loose and a pace that doesn't seem to be very fast. This horse is also stretching out, so he really is going to be able to control it because he's got some sprint speed, and his pace figures early, middle, and late, they kind of match a little bit, and those types of horses typically handle stretch outs well. I love the outside draw, and on racetracks like this, I like a horse that's going to be forwardly placed to avoid the kickback. It's just a little bit more annoying, I think, for rider and for horse when the track is like this, but one of the things that I love to hear from Maggie when it comes to these types of races is who's warming up as if they're going to be aggressive early in the race. I think sometimes there's some clues there, Mag.
Well, to be honest, JK, they really haven't had much time to be aggressive in their warm-ups. But I will say that Extreme did not necessarily have an aggressive warm-up. He is loose here. I'm not saying they're not going to go to the lead. They would be silly not to. But the thing is, while he does have a pedigree to suggest he should certainly handle this very wet track that we have here today, I will say he does have somewhat compromised feet in that they're very shelly. That he has equilocks. He has some corrective shoeing. And sometimes a track like this will sting a horse that might have those not the strongest feet. So that's just one thing I noticed. I'm not against him. I get why people like him, but I was just looking for a better price. That's why I opted with the 5 in here, Group Hug. Love a Group Hug, Greg.
Don't we all? This team, we do it daily, don't we?
Yes, we do.
If not for having the meetings over the phone. 9-5. You were just mentioning to me this entry is taking a ton of money. That is scary.
Maybe it's a good sign. Yeah. I played picks and pick 3s and used the 5, 7, and 8. I also played the race singly. I bet a little to win in the 8, and I boxed 5, 7, 8. Or I boxed the 8 with the 5 and 7.
Good luck in the pick 4. John Imbrial with the call.
Start of race 6. And they're off. Blue Grotto Extreme. There goes 42 Ace from the inside. High Tide moves up. So it is 42 Ace and High Tide right together. Extreme is a close-up third on the outside. Confectioner is next in 4th, almost 3 lengths back to Mr. Candy Ride, who is racing in 5th. Group Hug on the outside, next in 6th, followed by Pier 40 in 7th. And then comes Blue Grotto. And way back is Royal Tris, the trailer, in 9th. The quarter went in 24 seconds. High Tide leads here by a half length. On the outside is 42 Ace, a close-up second. It's a length and a half. And down on the inside is Confectioner in third. And alongside, on the outside is Extreme as the field heads for the far turn, the half mile in 48 seconds. Inside, High Tide. Outside, 42 Ace. The two of them are right together for the lead. With Extreme racing in third, Confectioner down at the rail. Group Hug is on the move from fifth. And then comes Mr. Candy Ride, followed by Pier 40 and Blue Grotto. They are at the quarter pole. Here's 42 Ace to take a narrow lead. On the outside is Extreme, who's all out in second. It is 42 Ace with the lead. Extreme runs in second. Then it's Group Hug and High Tide down towards the rail. It is 42 Ace who leads by 3. Extreme is in second. They're coming on for the finish. It is 42 Ace. And another price here. 42 Ace at 14-1. Blue Grotto comes on to complete the exacta.
Another big price, a horse who finally broke his maiden career start number 10, and he did that off a long layoff. Still tough to have.
I'd be surprised if anybody's even alive in this pick 6 at this point. It's a very hard horse to have in here, and he ran well to get it done. He stalked a long shot in the front end, and he just drew off in the stretch. You know, I felt like I did the right thing, used the 5, 7, 8. They ran second, third, and fourth behind this horse. I could never, ever have had this horse. I would have had to use an all to have this horse, and I probably would have had to use an all in every race in the pick 6 to be alive.
10-1, 14-1 to start the pick 5, throwing a 39-1 shot to start off the pick 6. Difficult sequence to this point. 6, 8, 7, 5. Mike Luzzy, Charlie Baker. This horse came back from an April 2021 layoff. He returned in January, broke his maiden. It gets easier, and now he's 2 for 2 as a 4-year-old as we head to Tampa Bay Downs. Race 6, $20,000 maiden claiming event at 6 furlongs. Early on in the wagering, I pointed out to you off air, the first timer, the only first timer in this field, the 6, Texas Magic, opened up at 1-5, has come back to earth on the odds board, but the dam was actually pretty good. Grade 3 winner, multiple stakes winner.
Yeah, and she's produced one foal. That was a Bernardini. That horse debuted just about a week or so ago down at Gulfstream Park and didn't win, but ran a 70 by her first time out. But it was a Bernardini. This is a California Chrome. Listen, you're not going to have to be very good to win here. But, you know, you mentioned the early money. Now this horse is 5-1. The 8 is the horse to beat in this race. I don't disagree. Maybe the 3, Melanita, if you're looking for a long shot, coming off a little bit of a freshening, could be interesting in here.
Yeah, coming out of an open maiden special weight.
Yeah, that's what I thought, dropping back down. And the other races, this is, you know, never didn't run this cheaply at Tampa since the debut, but has had chances. I didn't have anything clever to say. I go 8 and 3 would be my 2 in here.
You look at the 1 though too, and this horse was 5-2 morning line. It's a turf horse whose one dirt start gives you no confidence that this horse should be this price.
I'd like to book every cent on this horse. I saw the same thing. I saw he was 5-2. In fact, I circled it in my form and thought, who would be betting this horse? Yeah, his buyer speed figures on turf would drown this field. But as you say, it's not on turf, and this horse ran 3 times in the dirt and didn't lift a hoof. I mean, it's not a very strong field, but I agree. The value in this race is betting against the 1. And even the 4, whose first time on the dirt obviously can win, this is a 5-year-old maiden. I wouldn't be enamored with that horse either. I'd go the 8 with the 3 and maybe a little bit of maybe the 6, the first, or mostly 8 and 3 for me.
9-5 favorite is that 8, who's been running it. First 2 came at Parks, then at Penn National. Gets a 3rd track to try and break her maiden here. Blinkers come off for the first time in her career, and she does have speed. Should be forwardly placed.
Supposed to be in front, isn't she?
Yeah.
I mean, you would think. Saw a nice performance in the first race, the race before we got here, of a second-time starter for Chad Brown and Klarovich, a horse who had broken its maiden impressively at Monmouth, that missed some time, but came back and with a nice performance to win as a heavy favorite in race 5.
And Chad Brown, Klarovich, they have good governance coming up in the next. That'll be on the turf, basically the feature on this card.
And Chad making an assault tomorrow. Excellent stakes at Tampa that we'll be covering tomorrow for Phillies and the Colts. Really, really good races coming up. Looking forward to talking about those races, Greg.
And we'll preview that endeavor later in the program. Right now, 6th from Tampa kicks off the pick 4. Jason Beam with the call.
Alina and Isaac Castillo to the outside draw. About set for a start. Alina goes in. They're in the gate. And the race is on. Bit of a slow start there for Ostera, and as it seems. Milanita in the red colors shows speed. Lalina from the outside, and that's all she wrote coming through. And these three speed away here in the opening furlong. That trio goes 3.5 ahead already of Texas Magic, who's all alone in fourth. It's a space of 6 more then. Back to the slow starting Ostera, 2.5 more back to As It Seems after that. And Saratoga Lullaby's a distant last. They're going quickly up front, but they're about 15 lengths front to back as they go by the half-mile pole. Lalina trying to cross over from the outside gate, the even money favorite through that opening quarter in 22 and 1/5 seconds. Here's Texas Magic, the debut runner now coming up alongside of Lalina, drives to within a neck. Those two are 2.5 ahead of That's All She Wrote. Then we come back to Milanita, and it's about 15 lengths then back to Ostera As It Seems, and Saratoga Lullaby still a long last 20 lengths front to back. As they come by the quarter pole, here's Texas Magic up on the outside. Texas Magic to go to the front. Lalina quickly back to second. That's All She Wrote. Milanita on the outside. The top 4 still well clear of the other 3 as they have a final furlong left to go. Texas Magic, Alonzo Quinones shaking up outside the furlong pole. That's All She Wrote going to dive down toward the inside from second. Then comes Milanita, but a final 16th to go. Texas Magic well in command. Milanita, That's All She Wrote, second and third. Texas Magic, a nice debut win here. Texas Magic goes on to win it at 8-1 by 4 lengths in the end. Milanita was second, then came That's All She Wrote. Ostera got up for fourth and Lalina fifth.
Texas Magic, first time out. That early money was right on when this horse opened at 1-5.
But ultimately, Greg, they didn't know.
No.
As this horse paid 8-1 and was an hour the best, didn't come out that sharply and just ranged up over the favorite Lalina, who was absolutely dreadful in here, was all in top of the stretch. The number 3, Milanita, came along to pick up the piece for second, but this horse was jiggity job.
With that dam, you think someone took a shot and said, for 20,000, I will claim this filly?
Where do you go with this horse out of this win?
Waters get a lot deeper.
Yeah.
Look good, though, doing it first time out. Texas Magic, daughter of the Derby champ California Chrome, with the win at first asking. Prices for you when we come back. We're going to take a timeout. We will preview the Grade 3 Withers on Saturday. The Jerome winner. Going to try and make it 3 consecutive victories and continue on that road to the Kentucky Derby. We'll have that preview next.
Introducing a stallion, as top class as they come. In 22 career starts, he won or placed in 12 graded stakes, competing in 15 grade ones, earning over $1.7 million. His undisputed speed is evidenced by 7 100-plus buyer speed figures, a 3-time grade 1 winner, Raging Bull.
We're back on America's Day at the Races on FS2. The chaos continues on a pick 6 carryover day. 42 ace, taking the 6th at 14-1. Started out his career 0 for 9, dropped in off about a 10-month layoff to state-bred maiden 25, claiming looked like a different horse, and now backs it up against winners.
Yeah, this is a very good claim by Charlie Baker. This horse really exploded out there, unless you just think this horse loved the racetrack. This was a terrific claim. He buried this field. I mean, I ran 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, but it wasn't close. And it's not like he had a gift trip or anything. I mean, he wasn't the best part of the track, but contending the pace with another horse that finished nowhere, and Extreme was outside of him, and he finished a distant 3rd. Blue Grotto came from the clouds. He really ran in this race. A good effort. I'll tell you something. Looking at the doubles, the 9 is favored in doubles. I have no idea how he can possibly win this race. The 3 Norman Queen appears to be one of the favorites as well. Both of those horses are coming off of bias-aided victories now. So was the last winner, to be fair. But I find it hard to believe they're going to win this race.
Halfway home in this pick 6, and that pick 3, if you noticed, over $7,800.
Yeah, and I think 8,700 actually.
Was it 87? Sorry.
Yeah, and a rare situation with 3 bombs that it paid over the parlay, which is really incredible because I don't even know what the pool was. There may have been 3 or 4 winning tickets, and in that case, somebody betting their numbers, you know, their 3-digit numbers people bet are going to skew the pool. And you usually see those as underlays. There's no chance this pick 6 is going to be hit unless somebody played a quick pick or something that happens to randomly hit. And I'll tell you something. Obviously, you know, it could chalk out from here. The pick 5 could be hanging by a bit of a string, to be honest with you.
8,784, for that pick 3 to this point at the midway point. Withers' notable winners, Bernardini back in 2006, and then some very established names if you go back in history.
Successful Appeal. Richard Migliore wrote a Successful Appeal, and he wrote him in his debut in Saratoga. It was a $75,000 maiden claimer. He ended up being a great stakes winner, obviously. And Richie told me, he said, we're sneaking one in here. This horse is a maiden special horse. He was right. He got beat. He was second. Wayne Lucas beat him. Richie was dead right, though. He ended up being very good. He won the Amsterdam at Saratoga, and Richie had injured himself, and he wasn't able to ride him.
This year's edition, tomorrow, 2 turns, mile and an eighth, grade 3 Withers, and 10 points to the winner on the Kentucky Derby Trail. Courvoisier, he started off 2022 in the right way. New Year's Day with a win in the Jerome to make it back-to-back victories.
I think it was run yesterday, actually, the Jerome. That's about what it looked like for much of the card yesterday. I don't know what to make of the horses coming out of this race. I think Cook Creek is the one I would want. I think he was a bit taken out of his game. It's just hard to know how strong they were. You've got all these maiden breakers coming into this race from good barns that seem to have some potential. But Courvoisier got it done, and he's certainly going the right way for trainer Kelly Breen. Now, he lost Jose Ortiz, who is riding the morning line favorite early voting for Chad Brown. He did not get a high percentage rider to ride him for whatever it's worth.
Ruben Silveira will be aboard, filling in for Ortiz, who, will be aboard a horse who has just one start to his credit. Maiden victory for Chad Brown, a gun runner who won at a mile distance in his debut. Top 4 finishers, though, coming out of that Jerome. Let's go to early voting and the new face here, tackling winners for the first time.
76 Beyer. To break your maiden first time out at a mile, it's pretty strong. Sire gun runners, extending into having one of the best first out years you could imagine having. It's a big test, though. He drew an outside post. There is some speed inside of him. You got to go, but you got to get that position the first turn. Now, in this racetrack, he'd be fine sitting outside and perhaps stalking, but you got to make that test. He has a pedigree that says he's supposed to have no problem going long. A Tisnow Dam. Chad Brown's confident he'll go long, but you just never know. Is a maiden winner going to come back? Chad Brown is almost 30% with his debut, with winners coming off of maiden wins. ROI isn't that high because horses get bet. I don't want him as the favorite, but I can understand why he's considered one of the horses to beat.
Big performance on Saturday, and he's going to not just be an impressive 3-year-old, he's going to be a horse who's a contender on the Triple Crown Trail. We'll see what happens tomorrow. We will have that race for you. Meanwhile, the 7th is up next. 50,000 starter allowance here at Aqueduct. 7/8 of a mile. Norman Queen, 11.5 length win as a favorite on January 13th. I know you don't love this race, though.
Well, The beginning portion of that card was extreme inside speed biased. And this horse, who might not even been favored in there, a horse who was claimed away from Wesley Ward after a turf race, took all the money because of the way the track was playing, and his performance was absolutely enhanced by the racetrack. Different racetrack for this horse today in a tougher field. Stencil, another horse coming out of a very weak race, the horse on the outside who may take a lot of money given his double prices, he too rode a bias. I think there's a lot more interesting stuff going on in those horses. I don't like the Norman Queen the 3 at all. I'll be shocked if she's effective.
Now, one of those interesting runners, and there is Norman Queen, could be early edition who looked like a sensation at Parks and then backed it up with another good effort in the slop here at Aqueduct. With more, let's go downstairs to Maggie.
You're right, Greg. Her first start against winners, I thought, was good. Maybe not so much visually, but you take in consideration the way that the track was playing, a little tilted more towards the inside, in which she was chasing the winner wide that day. And the problem I have with her, though, coming out of that race is her inability to switch leads, to change leads to her outside right leg. And you want that because it will propel a horse forward. You wonder, too, are they reluctant to switch to the outside because of an issue, or so on and so forth. But she has shown the ability to be effective, at least over a track like this. And honestly, she looks best in here. This is only the second time I'm laying eyes on her. I saw her the first time she ran way back when in December of 2020. But she has done well in the interim now as a 4-year-old, big, strong filly, well conditioned for her third start off that little bit of a break. I like what I'm seeing from her here once again. And I think she has the right kind of style to be effective today. Hopefully she can work out that outside trip. As number 9 Stencil, she projects to get that outside trip. I mean, you go back and you look how Mike Leslie rode the last winner here, 42 Ace, and how wide he was throughout. I mean, he was more than happy to be in the 5 path around the turn, giving no credence to saving ground today. You don't need to do it. So Stencil at least projects to get that similar type of trip. I agree. She's facing much better here, and this is a test. And it's also a test of the racetrack. I mean, she responded beautifully to a fast track for the first time, but will she respond favorably to a wet track? I don't see anything prohibiting her from doing so. She looks great, and Rob Atris's horses are running very well this meet. This is the first time I'm laying eyes on her. I actually wasn't in the paddock for her first start here at Naira. Physically, I like what I'm seeing. I just think this is a little bit of a tougher spot. So we'll see how she responds today, Greg.
701 Stencil from that outside post. Kendrick Carmouche. There he is, ready to hop aboard that filly right there for Rob Atris. And yeah, Atris winning at 24% at this meet.
He's a very streaky trainer. He had a horse who was bet off the board yesterday that won, and just courage barely won. And when his horses get bet, they're usually live. I was talking with David Aragona. I was texting with him, and he said that even though his horse is favored in the double, his horse was like 5th choice with the shorter priced horses, so probably stays up around these odds.
Got a quick look at Rob with the baseball cap on. Of course, had that breakthrough win last summer at Saratoga. Maracuja in that Coaching Club American Oaks. Favorite here right now is still the 3 Norman Queen. Can she back up that performance?
Well, the other problem, I mean, those kind of dressed up performance on biases, they confuse people that aren't paying attention to biases. But then you get on a racetrack like this that's not kind to that kind of running style, and so the horse is sort of doubly against it. That horse is a tremendous bet against, in my opinion.
There's Rob Atris giving a leg up to Kendrick. See if Stencil can go back-to-back. That was, as Maggie mentioned, the dirt debut. And she looked like she certainly took to it, forwardly placed, and ran away from that group against 40 non-winners at Tiz. The problem is she's going to have company up front today. Here is Highway Queen Dylan Davis.
Yeah, when she breaks down from the inside, she's really a turf horse. She had a win on a wet track at 1 1/8 at Saratoga, but she rode a bias that day.
So here's Norman Queen. Andre Worry getting a shot on a favorite.
Andre Worry, not going to see him on too many short prices. I think you want a booker, not better.
Suspended campaign, David Duggan.
Some people will tell you they didn't like the rail on January 6th. She's one of 2 horses in this race that was inside.
Early edition, she won at Parks, 2 starts back by more than 22 lengths.
That was a legitimate effort, and she backed it up with a huge effort, chasing outside an inside speed track last time. I think she's very dangerous.
Chloe Rose, slight cutback in distance.
The cutback will help her, and if you don't think the rail was good in January 6th, she was on it.
6-1. Galena, Trevor McCarthy, James Bond.
Great ride by Trevor to win last time. Off the pace, but saved ground almost the whole way.
And she won in the mud last time out. Here's Magnetique, just claimed by Greg DePrima.
Almost reminds you of the last race, a horse of a blowout win with a big figure claimed away from Michelle Nevin, but this one met an extraordinarily weak field last time.
And the Rob Atras filly with Kendrick Carmouche aboard. Stencil.
I'm reticent to take too strong a stand against any Rob Atras horse because his horses can run better than their PP suggest. But based on this horse's last race, she's not even mildly a contender.
Post time coming up for the 7th midway point of this pick 6. JK, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, we've talked a lot on this show over the past month or so about, sometimes these racetracks can become biased, and sometimes it's very subtle. I like to compare it to, and this is an extreme example, but when you're running on the beach, when there's some moisture on the sand, that's the easier part to walk on than the deeper part. It's like I said, it's not that drastic, but that's an example of how sometimes different parts of the racetrack can be easier to travel over, and there's been a lot of times where the inside was that place. The 5 early edition was wide. On a racetrack when the inside was where you wanted to be, and these are the types of horses I like to play off of those situations. It's hard to play bias as you're going through the day, but I do think it's pretty easy if you keep track to play horses that were exiting a race where they were either aided or disadvantaged by being on a biased racetrack. I like the 5 early edition in here.
Thanks.
All right, so 7-1 on early edition. Surprising that she's at that price.
Listen, I agree with Jonathan. I mean, that's probably bad news if Jonathan and I are agreeing on these things, but I'm with him. I think that she's been great form and is very logical in here and is a massive overlay.
Well, let's head back to Maggie.
Taking a look at a horse who is taking a lot of money. I wasn't expecting to see 5-1 on number 7, Galena, just graduated from the maiden special weight ranks for the New York breds. I don't particularly love her on form. As Andy said, Trevor McCarthy pulled off a great ride, but this filly looks as though she's doing superbly coming in to face winners for the first time. Love the warm-up Trevor gave her. She warmed up beautifully over a wet track once again, in which she broke her maiden on. I was hoping for a better price when I was going to suggest her, but still, you can't fault her in any way, shape, or form from the physical perspective of being prepared for this start here, Greg.
5-1, Galena, the 7, taking a lot of money. There is Trevor McCarthy in those royal blue silks of Bond Racing.
I look at this board and I see a 2-1 and 2 5-1s, the first, second, and third choice, and I'll be shocked if any of them hit the board. But
hit the board.
I don't get the only one that I won't be surprised is I'm never surprised if Rob Atras' horses outrun their form. The 3, 7, and 9, I don't get them. But this is a weird track. If you want to bet them though at big prices, be my guest. I don't get them at all. I think the race is all 4, 5, 6.
See how it plays out. Let's go upstairs. John Imbrial, 7th from Aqueduct.
They're in the gate. And they're off. Stencil from the extreme outside. Magnetique is there along with Chloe Rose. Now moving up is Norman Queen along with Early Edition. Norman Queen pokes ahead in front. In between horses is Early Edition, and on the outside is Stencil. Then it's a break of 2 back to Magnetique, who races in 4th. Alongside is Chloe Rose in 5th. It is almost 5 lengths. Back to Highway Queen in 6th. Another 5 or 6 to the 2 trailers, Galena and Suspended Campaign. It is Norman Queen who has the lead here by a length and a half over Stencil after a quarter in 23 and 2/5 seconds. The favorite, Norman Queen, is on top. Stencil runs in 2nd. Chloe Rose is in 3rd, 3.5 off the lead. Then comes Magnetique, who's being asked for more. Farther back is Early Edition and Galena. As they come for the top of the stretch, the half one in 48 seconds over the sloppy going, and it is Norman Queen who has opened up a 4-length lead. Chloe Rose on the outside moving into 2nd. Galena is down towards the rail. It is Norman Queen in front. Norman Queen is the leader. And then comes Galena and Chloe Rose, and Galena continues to gain ground here. Norman Queen trying to hold off Galena. Galena is gobbling up the slop here. Galena from well off the pace to win here at the end by 3/4 of a length. Norman Queen was 2nd. It's a photo for 3rd between Chloe Rose and Early Edition.
Galena back-to-back wins on off tracks. James Bond, Trevor McCarthy.
I would be outside with a cup in my hand looking for donations if I was booking this race, because 7 and 3, 2 horses I could never, ever have used. This horse to be 5-1 off the last race, somebody knew something. Maggie liked how she looked, and she just ran by the 3, who also ran a lot better than I expected her to run. The public was a lot smarter than I would have been in this race, and that's to say the least. These 2 horses finished well ahead of 2 that I used.
Looked like Chloe Rose able to nab 3rd, but Galena, 12-1 morning line, winds up going off at 5-1. And good to see those Silks, James Bond Barn, getting their picture taken again. Trevor McCarthy, who just a few weeks ago we were saying his name endlessly. We had a streak where he won 11 of 16 mounts. He's the hottest rider in the country for a while, continuing his tremendous meet here at Aqueduct. 7-3, it was the 6 for 3rd over the 5 early edition. So 39-1, 10-1, 14-1, and now 5-1 in this pick 6 carryover.
Yeah, and I have a tough time believing in multi-race bets that this is a 5-1 shot. I could be wrong. I'll take a look at them, but this is a very, very hard horse to like because she's simply too slow looking at her speed figures based on her last race. I mean, listen, I'm perplexed by the results today. In the double, yeah, I mean, looking at doubles, Greg, she was actually $10 short of the longest shot in the board in the doubles, okay? I mean, in the pick 3, she was, they were all about the same with long shots, but she was the 2nd biggest price as well.
Mm-hmm.
She's no 5-1 shot in any multi-race bets. I can guarantee you that.
We'll be back with prices in a moment. We have the 7th at Tampa next. 1 mile on the turf and the return of good governance for Chad Brown. We haven't seen this horse since April of 2021. We start with Caramel Chip.
Yeah, we'll see what Caramel Chip seems to be a little bit tough, as many of these are, to say the least. Just 2 turf races for this horse.
2-5 on a now 6-year-old who's graded stakes place for Chad Brown.
Yeah, listen, if he's back and he can run as well as he's running his races, he's going to destroy this field. He doesn't have much speed, though, and I think one of his biggest threats is a horse that figures to be controlling up front.
Patriot Drive, couple starts back, he was second to Wolfie's Dynaghost, who just won a 20-1 at Gulfstream on synthetic.
Yeah, he did. His races recently are okay, but he's in a tough spot.
Winning factor, he faced a Chad Brown runner, couple starts back, named Value Engineering. He ran 3rd to him.
This is a horse I've always had an affinity for. He did not have as good form last year, but the reality is he still ran well enough against some good horses that he has to be considered the 2nd likeliest winner here.
49-1, 2-Steppin' Kluke, who won a 12-1 3-back on the turf.
Yeah, this would be an upset. This horse would really have to improve.
African Heritage has been off since December of 2020.
Yeah, I'm not betting horses off 13-month layoffs, but the horse's last race, actually the best race it ever ran.
Yeah, 1 for 16 lifetime, however. Obi-Wan, 5-year-old by Union Rags.
He's going to need every bit of that Star Wars magic to win this field.
Force has not been with him of late. 20-1 there. Driftwood, the one who you said is scary and he has speed, he should be in front. Hasn't been able to last, though, his last couple of starts on the front end.
No, he hasn't. But I think he's been run well enough in there. I don't love him, but I thought if there was an upset chance in here, it could be him controlling on the front end.
Well, good governance, all the money on this 6-year-old now for Chad Brown off this long layoff, but the resume to have a pretty easy time with this field if he's anything close to what he used to be. This was back on June 26th, 2020, 3 starts ago when he got through his A other than condition.
Yeah, this was shortly after we came back from the pandemic, I believe, back to racing.
Yeah.
And he just devoured these horses. Gogano's 2nd isn't bad. He didn't have the best of trips trying a graded stake in just his 2nd start, and he lost by a neck. I mean, he lost to some like at Hot Brown, the Baruch. He was a little bit in tight in the stretch. And last time out when he ran, he was wide behind a very, very slow pace. His talent isn't the concern. He's going to win this race if he runs back to any one of the 5 races he's run. But what's the deal with a horse that just can't stay on the racetrack, Greg? I mean, not only is he now coming off a 10-month layoff, that race was what lost almost a 9-month layoff.
Yeah.
And before that, he ran a couple races in 20, a couple races in 19. It's interesting. in talking to Chad Brown before he ever ran, he told me about it. He was talking to myself and this horse's owner, saying, you know, how much talent he had. Now, frustrating, 'cause I think he was scheduled to debut, one of the many times he was scheduled to debut and didn't make it, around Belmont Stakes weekend of 2019. And he just kept having little things come up, mostly his doing. And it's very frustrating when you're a trainer or owner and you have a horse like this, and you know if he could just stay sound and stay on the racetrack, he could be competing in some of the biggest stakes in the country. It's the kind of horses you dream of getting, but he just can't stay on the racetrack.
Can he win off the bench? JK, he's 3-5 right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take the 3-5 for a couple of reasons. One, this horse has obviously shown how much talent he has, and he feels like he's significantly more talented than the rest of the horses in this race. But a couple of other reasons why is this horse runs well fresh. He won first out for Chad Brown. He won off of that layoff from August of 2019 till June of 2020. So Chad knows how to get this horse ready to run. The other thing is what I like to do with a tool like XBTV is you can look at the workouts with these horses in the morning. Good Governance has been running with Devamani, who is 3-1 in a stake tomorrow. So the fact that this horse is bumping heads with that horse in the morning suggests that he's likely ready to run here. I like the draw. He should be able to save ground, get covered up, and make that kind of patented Chad Brown turf move if he can get clear. I think Good Governance is actually a pretty good wager at 3-5.
I do have a question for you, Jonathan, and I don't totally disagree with you. Are you drooling to bet on or against Devamani at 3-1 in that spot tomorrow?
He can absolutely win. I think he's a little bit outposted in there, but I see what your point is. I'm with you on that. I think that the comparison that I was simply making was that you know, he's working with a good horse, and that's always a good sign. Chad matches up his good horses together to work. I mean, Bricks worked with good horses, and all of his horses, Lady Eli, Rushing Fall, they all work with good horses. It's a good sign, I think, that this horse might be ready.
And that's a grade 3. That Tampa Bay, you know, if Devamani was in this race, he'd be 1-5. Or shorter.
He'd be very. I don't know if he would be. I don't think he would 1-5 against Good Governance. Yeah, that race tomorrow is highly competitive. Looking forward to talking about it. We'll talk about it later in the show. But I'm hoping Good Governance comes back. I'm a fan of this horse and really just hoping he does well.
He's the 2 in here. Sam Camacho rides for Chad Brown. Long time off. Haven't seen him since April of last year. Talent-wise, though, there's no question. He stands above this field. And it's not even close. 7th from Tampa, Jason Beam with the call.
Driftwood goes in. They're in the gate. Couple of them acting up to the outside there. Looks like the number 6 two-step and Kluki is who's holding us up here. Looks like maybe there's some kind of blinker repair happening with the 6. Now they're off. Driftwood from the outside came away in good order. Good Governance down toward the inside. Two-step and Kluki also broke sharply as they come into the stretch for the first time round. It is going to be Driftwood from the outside gate as expected going to the early lead. Two-step and Kluki away in the second spot. Obi-Wan on the outside is 3rd. African Heritage the Gray is 4th, about 3.5 behind early on as Patriot drives in behind that one in 5th. Going a little bit wide there was Winning Factor in the 6th spot. Good Governance is 7th right now. In a bit of a tight spot there was Good Governance the favorite. And Caramel Chip is at the back early on as they have 5.5 furlongs remaining in their journey. Driftwood to make the pace. Driftwood takes them to the back stretch in front by 2. 23-3 for that opening quarter mile. Driftwood there now a length and a half. In the second spot, Two-Step and Kluki. Good Governance starts to advance in between horses. Coming all the way up now to challenge for 3rd is Winning Factor. That one's main rival on the outside moves around Obi-Wan. Some changing there in that second flight as African Heritage got shuffled back a few spots, as did Patriot Drive. Caramel Chip is still at the back. 3.5 furlongs left to go. Driftwood has been dictating terms. It's Driftwood in front. Obi-Wan putting a nose into that second spot. Winning Factor trying to follow that move out 3 deep. Just in behind them, Two-Step and Kluge. Good Governance going to need some room. Actually, he's going to take to the outside there as Good Governance as they wind around the turn. Driftwood still the target. Winning Factor pulls it within a length and a half. Good Governance trying to follow that move as they come to the top of the stretch. It's Driftwood still in front. Winning Factor, Good Governance swings into action on the outside as Driftwood turns for home. It's Driftwood off the turn a length in front. Good Governance on the outside. Winning Factor back to third, trying to get going. Patriot Drive down the outside is fourth. Final furlong time now. Driftwood a stubborn foe. Good Governance. Here's Patriot Drive down the outside. Good Governance up alongside of Driftwood. Patriot Drive down the outside. Good Governance and Driftwood. These two in a driving finish. Very close. Either Good Governance or Driftwood. It was 3 more lengths then back to Patriot Drive, who finished third.
Photo finish. Did Good Governance get the nose down in time, or did Driftwood hang on?
Feels like Good Governance did get it done, but to be honest, a disappointing return for him. I mean, in all fairness, he hasn't run in 10 months. He's a 6-year-old, but he got a terrific ride by Sammy Camacho. You know, he got that good position with him. Now, whenever the horse who's the speed is able to almost win the race and control the way he did, obviously it's a little tougher for closers, and you did see Good Governance appears to have gotten the win. Listen, Driftwood ran very well in his last race, and he's continually in good form. You won, you want to win. I think we'll learn more in his next start. He's going to have to show he can come back because he doesn't have, I don't think he even has allowance conditions left. Now he's a non-winner, he's a 3 lifetime. He's going to have to go into a stake somewhere going forward. He's run well enough that he's shown he can belong in them, and you don't want to, sort of bury him off his first race in 10 months, but he didn't win like a 3 to 5 shot.
No, and off the bench, I mean, he's run a lot bigger efforts than this in the past, but Father Time may be catching up to him.
These horses get these injuries. I mean, Greg, we've been around the racetrack. You've been around a long time, too. It's, and you see these good horses come back, and more often than not, they don't come back that well. The injuries do catch up to them. I mean, think of yourself as you get older. Every year it gets a little harder just to get out of bed in the morning. So they've caught up to him a little bit. He did win. How strong the race was remains to be seen.
Back in New York, this was a difficult one to come up with. Maggie liked the way she looked. Public bet this one down to 5-1 as well. Galena, back-to-back wins now for the Bond Barn.
Congrats to Jimmy Bond's Barn. I'll tell you one thing, these guys, they have a reputation for doing very well in Saratoga, where they're stabled so much of the year, and that's true. There's a reputation because it worked a lot. This summer was a tough summer. These guys really get it done in the winter here. And, you've got both Kevin and Ryan doing all the hard work, getting them ready for the winter, and it's really a true family operation among the parents and the 2 boys, and they do a great job. Trevor's obviously a great rider. It's interesting looking at the double, the Exacta. Exacta was $100. It paid like this horse was about 20-1. The second horse was about 4-1. And those were more the, or 10-1 and 4-1. Say more the odds I probably thought they should be, maybe even I thought it should be higher. The win pool, though, they took all the money.
God, I think we're in 2-day carryover position. Technically 3-day. Right.
But I mean, Greg, here's the question. Do you think there are any live tickets in this Pick 6 right now? I would bet there are none.
I would say no at this point.
I'm going to say in all likelihood it's probably going to be 4 or 6. I'm going to say that this Pick 5, there will be horses in the last race. There will definitely be horses in the last race not covered. How's that?
See what happens here. We talked early on, top of the show, Mystic Knight. He is the 3-1 favorite right now. Speaking of the Bond Barn, they used to have this 5 for a long time. Prioritize. I chased him for many, many races. He ran a huge Woodward a couple years ago at Saratoga. He's just never kind of gotten through and got that next big win in the conditions.
He's taking a lot of money because he was claimed by Mike Dubb and Rudy Rodriguez. And it's interesting, the 2 of them had teamed up for a lot of success. I don't feel like Rudy and Mike Dubb have claimed horses together recently. So they're reunited. Rudy has just outstanding numbers off the claim. We're looking at the favorite, Mystic Knight, right now. And that's why he's getting bet. But, Greg, there has to be a reasonable question if he's prioritized. Is this competitive anymore?
Broke horribly last start. Just seemed sort of almost disinterested coming out of the gate. It was a weird beginning of that race. Favorite, though, again, it's Mystic Knight, the 6th. There he is, just leaving your screen. He put together back-to-back wins at Aqueduct. That's when he was kind of at his best early in his career. Can he still be that horse that people were so high on back then.
It's not the same as good governance, but clearly this is a horse with issues. He spent more time off the track than on it. I thought after his win here in March, he beat the bias that day with a 99 buyer. This was going to be a stakes winner for Chad, the kind of horse that could maybe run a race like the Suburban. Obviously, I was dead wrong about that. He didn't run that badly at Belmont. His last race, it totally set up for him. The winner was a long shot that came from way out of it. He got a good trip, a good ride, and he was abysmal.
Yet, still the favorite at 3-1. Let's head downstairs to Maggie.
Andy, I'm on the same page with you. Don't worry, I was one of those people, too, that thought that Mystic Knight was going to have a really bright future after that race last year here at Aqueduct. It has not panned out or come to fruition. And his last race may leave a sour taste in your mouth, certainly. I will say, though, maybe as a little slight bit of credit to him, after getting, yes, a perfect trip for the majority of that 9 furlong Queens County, he was not ridden. He, for whatever reason, Jose Ortiz wrapped up on him that day. So he didn't even really ask him down the lane. Now, maybe he was feeling something that we couldn't really see or pick out. And here in the paddock, while he looks fine from a conditioning standpoint, I wish his coat, if I had to split hairs, and relative to his competition, I wish it looked a bit better. He just looks a little bit dry overall. And if I'm having to, you know, be overly critical of the favorite here off of a poor effort, that would be my one criticism. Otherwise, he looks fine here. And one that the 1 1/8, I think still, I am standing behind my theory that it suits him well, despite being a son of Into Mischief. As number 7 Croatian interests me a little bit. Possibly he was a little disappointing after being the beaten favorite in his last start, which was way back in late October. He was picked up that day by Tony Dutcher on a horse that I just really liked in the paddock. And I don't know, Tony is pretty good. I know the meet has been a little slow so far, but he is good with these horses that he picks up, these higher, level claimers. This guy looks fantastic. Coming in off the break, strong, fit, he might not be as sharp as he was at least that day back in October, but I still like what I'm seeing from him, though Tony trying to keep him dry under the awning here with his blanket on. I think he is a bit intriguing, Greg.
All right, Maggie, thanks. We'll get to our post-parade here coming up momentarily. Trevor McCarthy will ride that one. Croatian, the 7-year-old, in his 3rd different barn in about the last 6 months or so. As the riders come out, ready to take a leg up. 5-2 on Mystic Knight as we look at Tiergan for Rudy Rodriguez.
I like Tiergan in this race. If he runs back to his race 2 back, I believe he's going to win. He was wide that day. That was the day the rail was good. Empty Tomb rode the rail. First Constitution, I mean, obviously with a bias, but he came back with a big win in a stakes race and a subsequent performance. This was a legitimate field, and he really ran. He gets a nice rider change to Jorge Vargas for this race. I think he fits the race perfectly. He's run well on wet tracks. I mean, I'm a little bit gun-shy right now. My opinion is struggling a little bit the last couple of days, and obviously I'm finding this, whether it's the track or just the races, my opinions have been so-so, to say the least. But I do like this horse a lot in here. I bet him to win. I used mostly with the 5 and the exactas, and a little bit of the 7 Croatian.
We both believe, and there's Manny Franco getting a leg up on Mystic Knight. We both believe a good opportunity to play against the favorite in this race. We'll see what happens. 2-turn 1 1/8 event coming up. Here's our post parade. And where did this race come from the 8-year-old Hammer and Ammer last time out?
Boy, they're not betting him like they did last time out, and that was first time for Patty Reynolds. He improved after being claimed from $10,000 by Gustavo Rodriguez. He kept showing that improvement for Pat Reynolds. Now he's stepping up into an even tougher group.
In the past, he was second, only beat ahead to Preservationist, who that same year would go on to win the Suburban and the Woodward. So he does have a little backclass.
Yep.
Texas Swing, he's trying to win his 4th in a row.
The competition, though, is significantly tougher than winning a race at Parks, beating Royal Realm here, winning a non-winners, a 2 lifetime 30,000 labor. I think he's a long shot.
Old class horse, Pioneer Spirit, 9-year-old just went by, and here's Tiergan.
Yeah, Pioneer Spirit appears to be overmatched. I've made my case for Tiergan, and I'm sticking to it.
Prioritized right at his 9-2 morning line, 3rd in the Grade 1 Woodward a couple of years ago.
Hey, he was compromised by a speed track last time, to be fair, and it won't be the first time that Rudy Rodriguez has done well off the claim.
Mystic Knight, 2-1 favorite for Chad Brown, and here's Croatian.
I think Croatian's interesting. Maggie had some good things to say about him. I agree with her about Tony Dutrow. He's kept some good company. He's run some good figs, and he drew well on the outside. And does not hurt to have Trevor McCarthy.
It does not. He's been sensational since returning to New York. Jonathan, post time coming up for this feature, and 9-5 here on Mystic Knight.
Yeah, Andy kind of mentioned it. Yeah, look, Mystic Knight is a horse that I wouldn't be shocked if he could win here, right? He's run well on a sloppy racetrack prior. He doesn't have a style I necessarily love on a racetrack like this, but like I said, I wouldn't be shocked if he won. I thought the 5 Prioritize did make some sense. Rudy Rodriguez obviously does well when horses switch to his care in his career. 25% the first time a horse starts with him after leaving another barn. It's no offense to the Bond barn. Rudy just does a good job with horses that come in his barn, and I think that has a lot to do with the fact that Rudy has the opportunity to get on those horses in the morning. So he's not having to relay information from an exercise rider to make decisions on what that horse may or may not want to do, how the horse wants to be ridden, and I think that helps quite a bit. And then Michael Dubb obviously does a phenomenal job with the team that he has with finding and claiming horses and finding a way to continue to improve them. Well, Prioritize is a horse that's got some back class. Ran in the Jockey Club Gold Cup, ran in the Woodward. I just feel like he's the type of horse that Rudy could, show up and have this horse run much better than he's been running. He will have to improve. His last 2 races don't win this one. I'm hoping he can find one of his races from back in the middle of 2020.
Well, if he could do that, he's got a good chance to win this race. I mean, ever since that Woodward, I thought this horse, and James Bond, he thought the same thing when he was in his barn. I mean, he put him into grade 1s after that, multiple graded stakes races, because he thought he had that kind of talent.
Yeah, maybe he loves Saratoga. Is that possible?
Could be.
I got to watch the replay of the Good Governance race. Apparently, I missed the horse having an enormous amount of trouble. My phone is blowing up with people lecturing me. I'm embarrassed. I'm off my game today,
We'll get
Greg.
back to it.
I'm going to blame the weather.
Meanwhile, 9-2. Prioritize. Let's go back down to Maggie.
Andy blaming the weather. We'll take a look at Prioritize here. Liked what I saw in the paddock. Didn't love as much what I saw from the racetrack and the warm-up. Just looked as though, he just could be moving a little freer behind. Didn't seem as though he was really kind of wanting to pick up his feet and extend his stride over this racetrack. He is winless in 3 starts over wet tracks. But look, I respect the claim, respect these connections. I'm not going to be, flabbergasted when this horse jumps up and wins. And last time out, I think he was, hurt by the fact that the 2 horses to his outside reared up, and he kind of spooked inward from it. So he lost a lot of ground at the start that day. We'll see what he does. I'll probably put him right in the winner's circle, Greg.
8-5 favorite. Mystic Knight, the 5-year-old, trying to get the 3rd win of his career. I mean, we thought at 2-1, even 5-2, this horse was going to be a poor play, and now he's 3-2.
I don't know. I'm knocking enough horses that are ended up winning that I'm not going to knock how foolish I think this is. And I just watched the replay of Good Governance's race, and I think we may try to show the beginning again. The horse had about 6 lengths of trouble when the rider bounced him off the rail early. So to say I'm not on my game today would be an understatement.
Many people can claim the same. It's been a difficult afternoon to try and handicap the card. But a race like this, it looks like a lot of opportunity abounds.
Yeah. I mean, listen, when you bet races, and this is not a secret, you want to find races where you think a favorite is vulnerable. We all think, and you can see the 3 different opinions, but they're all against the 6, that the 6 Mystic Knight is vulnerable. And I don't think you can't think that off his last race. Obviously, he has a race that could win it, but there's a lot of horses in this race that have races that can win this race. And I'm not going to take a horse that's coming off a bad effort, that has as many layoffs as him. I won't be shocked if he wins. I'd like to see him do well for Chad Brown, but I have to bet against him.
There again, Prioritize. First start with Rudy Rodriguez, who claimed him back on December 31st. We're set for the feature. Let's go upstairs. John Imbrial with the call.
There in the gate. And they're off. Going out for the early lead is Pioneer Spirit, and on the outside is Croatian. Down towards the rail is Texas Swing next in third, followed by Mystic Knight in fourth. Hammer and Ammer is at the rail in fifth. Then it is Tiergan, and the trailer is Prioritize. Texas Swing and Pioneer Spirit. Pioneer Spirit goes on with it to grab the lead. Texas Swing looks to get off the rail, is racing in second. The quarter went 24 seconds. Then it's Croatian next in third. The favorite, Mystic Knight, is down towards the rail in fourth. Tiergan in the clear on the outside in fifth, followed by Hammer and Ammer and Prioritize. And the field continues up the backstretch here with Pioneer Spirit leading by 3/4 of a length. Texas Swing runs in second by a little more than a length. Then it's the duo of Croatian and Tiergan. They're right together, third and fourth. Mystic Knight is fifth at this point, 4 lengths from the lead. Then Hammer and Ammer, and Prioritize is the trailer. The half one in 49 and 4. Pioneer Spirit, Texas Swing. It's Pioneer Spirit by a half length. Texas Swing on the outside in second. Mystic Knight has drawn closer now in third. Then it's Tiergan on the outside with Croatian in between horses. A break of 2. Back to Hammer and Ammer, and Prioritize at the back. Texas Swing on the outside now takes the lead from Pioneer Spirit. Texas Swing, Pioneer Spirit battles back now on the inside. The two of them are together with Mystic Knight on the outside and coming on now from third. 3/4 went in 1:15. It is Texas Swing, Pioneer Spirit, Mystic Knight on the outside. Texas Swing and Mystic Knight. Now it's between those two as they come down for the 16th pole, and Mystic Knight kicks in late here. It is Mystic Knight with the lead. Texas Swing will be second. Mystic Knight gets the job done as the favorite at 3-2.
The size discrepancy between Mystic Knight and Texas Swing. Mystic Knight looked like a gargantuan. He gets the third win of his career and his first win on an off track.
Yeah, he got it done. He also got an excellent ride by Manny Franco, because as it turned out, the 2 speeds, the 3 and 2, hung around very, very well in here. So getting position on Mystic Knight got it done. Listen, I didn't like any of the first 3 finishers. I picked Mystic Knight third, but I hardly liked him, and nor would I ever bet him. He ran today, and you're right. I mean, he's gargantuan compared to Texas Swing.
Massive difference. 6-2-1 finish. Texas Swing second, and Hammer and Ammer winds up in third, but the favorite 3-2 public was all over this one. Mystic Knight, first favorite, the pick 6 sequence. Winning this feature. Nightcap still to come, and more from Tampa Bay when we come back.
Smile Happy was a TDN rising star following his maiden win at Keeneland. From there, he captured the Grade 2 Kentucky Jockey Club Stakes to remain undefeated and earning points toward the Kentucky Derby. In future Pool 1, Smile Happy was individual leader by lowest odds. Among the top of his crop by stakes winners and earnings, Run Happy continues his rise and is priced for success. Call today and book your mare to Red Hot Sire Run Happy, standing in legendary Stall 1 at Claiborne Farm.
Blood Horse Plus, available through bloodhorse.com, provides exclusive, timely, and unmatched content to subscribers, including Fox Sports, Blood Horse branded weekly programs, a detailed stakes winners section, behind-the-scenes videos from Blood Horse staff, on-demand access to deeper horse statistics, and a $5 monthly credit to equineline.com. Upgrade to Blood Horse Plus today.
This is the horse.
Is just too good.
This is the horse who became only the second champion 2-year-old to win the Travers in 3 decades. This is the horse who is the only Breeders' Cup juvenile hero ever to lift the Belmont Stakes. History-making brilliance. That's his essential quality. Essential quality. This is the horse. Just imagine.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. Use promo code TRYRTN for a 5-day free trial.
Back on America's Day at the Races on FS2. Our program brought to you in part where you can play all the action. Go to NyraBets.com. Download the NyraBets app. Get signed up and started. Let's go back to Tampa Bay. And from the outset, it was a difficult trip for Good Governance. Winds up hitting the fence early on.
Yeah, apparently I was in the bathroom when they were running the beginning of this race because he's got position, and if the rider's a little bit aggressive here, he could get right in the pocket, which he should have done, but instead he wasn't, and you can just see him. I mean, he's getting bounced off the rail, and he went from being in a position, 2 lengths off the lead, maybe down towards the inside, to being a good 6-7 lengths behind. So, I mean,
shortly after that, too, he got steadied.
If he had not gotten in that trouble in a good position, he got stayed after that. I mean, he'd have won this race by 4 or 5 lengths, and we'd be saying, even as a 6-year-old, he's back. So I apologize for my unbelievably bad job and appreciate being alerted to my poor job by somebody on Twitter, as well perhaps as some other friends on my phone.
So upon second look, not a bad comeback for Good Governance as a 6-year-old. Chad Brown wins there. Chad Brown wins here in New York with Mystic Knight. Peter Brandt, Three Chimneys Farm with his 5-year-old son of Into Mischief, who wins for the first time on an off track.
Yeah, he got it done. You know, I wouldn't call this the kind of impressive one he had last year, but I mean, on this racetrack, a win is a win, right? We're seeing a lot of strange results today on this card. Not just whether I liked him or not, but some long shots that were improbable. He's one of the most, besides the heavy favorite in the 3-horse race, Greg, I mean, the small fields, he's like the most logical winner we've seen all day. Certainly on the show.
When you and I both probably wouldn't have even used him.
We have a carryover, $98,633 into tomorrow's pick 6. Shall we handicap that towards the end of the show together, you and I?
I think we should have a preview show, right? Stay with us. Or we could podcast it if we can't get the airtime. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we've been waiting for this one to run for a couple of weeks now. Toboggan, finally, we're going to run it tomorrow on Saturday, and Happy Medium gets a little bit better draw this time around. We'll preview his chances next.
Start spreading the news. If you're looking to win in New York, then breed in New York. To War Dancer, the millionaire son of Warfront, and New York's #1 sire of 3-year-olds. Breed to a proven performer, the #1 second crop sire at the Saratoga meet with multiple winners at Belmont and Aqueduct. Earn double the New York Breeders' Awards and participate in the New York Stallion Series with $2 million in purses. War Dancer, proud to stand in New York. Visit wardancerstud.com.
#16 to the finish, American Power and Pete's play call. They are 1-2 as they come on for the finish, and it is American Power to win the 128th running of the Toboggan Stakes.
Introduced at Morris Park in 1890, the Toboggan Stakes, contested at 6 furlongs, was originally known as the Toboggan Slide because it took place on the downhill Eclipse course. In 1896, the race was renamed the Toboggan Handicap, and it was transferred to Belmont Park in 1905 after Morris Park closed in 1904. The race remained at Belmont until 1961, when it arrived at Aqueduct Racetrack. In 2009, the Toboggan became a stakes race rather than a handicap, but its imprint on history is clear no matter how the race is referenced. 6 Hall of Fame horses have captured the Toboggan. Rosebend, Billy Kelly, Equipoise, 830, Devil Diver, Bold Ruler, and Affectionately have all won it. 830 and Devil Diver are 2 of the 11 horses to win the Toboggan twice. Long history of this race, and Happy Medium's been waiting for this one to run for a couple of weeks now for Michelle Nevin, one of the rising superstar sprinters in our sport.
Yeah, and I mean, he's been very exciting. The competition is going to get steeper. I mean, the horse inside of him in this race ran extremely well last time out, but not as well as Happy Medium has been running. And that was won the Fall Highway, Hopeful Treasure. He's the controlling speed on paper, and
gets an outside post.
He's going to use this as a likely prep for the Grade 1 Carter, and he has shown enormous ability, you know, since coming back to the maiden race. And not just that, Greg. He won the maiden race with the Triple Digit Buyer, but he's come back with 2 impressive subsequent starts. A lot of times they'll break the maiden, and they don't really go on with it as well. And this guy looks like he's getting better and better. I couldn't be happier to see somebody like Michelle Nevin. Samantha Siegel, the owner, has been in the game for such a long time. I just love seeing them have a horse, and people, they're getting on the map a little bit, Michelle. We know her here in New York, how good she is, but a horse like this could give the public a chance to find out just how good Michelle is as a trainer.
His sire, the name's escaping me.
Yeah, he's some horse that I've never really heard of.
Run Happy,
right.
Of course, sponsor of
our
program.
He stands in stall 1 at Claiborne.
He does. It's legendary. We're very excited to see another very good Run Happy, and potentially a horse who many think, I mean, he's on a path to getting to the Breeders' Cup Sprint. We got a long way to go, but we would love to see it.
Yeah, and we've all seen these horses. They get in the these allowance races, and they get to stakes, and it's tougher. He's going to likely win on Saturday's card. It's going to get tougher in the Carter, but I'm rooting for this horse.
8th at Tampa, $16,000 maiden claiming race, 6 furlong sprint. Certainly the 4, a big player in this race, and outside the 9, dropping to a lower level. First 2 starts came at Gulfstream back when he was a 2-year-old. Figured outside as well.
Yeah, I mean, this race is a struggle for me. I guess the 4, Swiftish is the horse to beat. Swift Wish, the horse to beat off the claim.
Jason Beam, the call.
Magical Warrior in the red colors from the outside gets the first call, goes right to the front. El Phantasma. Here's Swift Wish driving through along with Cinnamon Jawbreaker. It's Swift Wish all the way up to assume command. Magical Warrior now back second. Cinnamon Jawbreaker's third, 2 lengths off the favored leader up front. Then comes That's My Boy Toy. El Phantasma. They race together 4th and 5th. They're 2 clear of Dadashev in 6th. 3 more back to Street Lamp, and Rocky Dice is 8th in the trailer as they have just under a half mile left to go. It's Swift Wish the leader. Swift Wish there by a length and a quarter. In the second spot, Magical Warrior getting a little bit closer as the top 2 in front by a 2. On the outside, El Phantasma moves up to put a nose into 3rd. Cinnamon Jawbreaker between horses. That's My Boy Toy. Those 3 in the second flight there lined up 3rd through 5th. 3 more then back to Dadashev. The 2 at the back have some work left to do. They come past the quarter pole. Here's Magical Warrior up on the outside to go to a narrow advantage. Swift Wish tries to stick with that one to the 3/16 pole. They're 2 clear of El Phantasma. The others are way, way back as the 3 of them up front try to sneak away. Magical Warrior is the leader to the furlong pole. Swift Wish battling on from 2nd. El Phantasma 3rd. 3.5 more back to Street Lamp, who's getting in gear with Rocky Ice down the outside, but Magical Warrior is pouring it on late. Magical Warrior going to go on to win, striding out nicely by about 5-6 in the end. El Phantasma was 2nd. Swift Wish held on for 3rd with Street Lamp, and Dadashev was 5th.
Oh, this is one of the biggest class droppers in the field. It was just start number 2. Took no money first time out, though, but moves to a more successful barn, winning at 35% at the meet, and responds with a win.
Yeah, funny how that Gulfstream maiden 50 didn't really translate. The maiden 16 here, a much different horse. Not that surprising.
Nightcap still to come. from New York. More on the finale when we return right after this. Stay with us.
Eclipse champion Blame ranks among the nation's top sires at a fraction of the price. His recent top runners include Aga Khan stud Saidabad, a top performer overseas, stakes winners Mandate, Officiating, Love the Nest, Dancing Kiki, and Blame JD. With success on the track and success in the ring, this proven son of Arch is truly a gold value stallion. Blame, standing at Claiborne Farm.
No sport in the world brings the wins home like racing. It's one-of-a-kind, high-speed, high-stakes action, and Naira Bets takes you there. Place your bets and watch the races live from anywhere. With Naira Bets, make easy, secure deposits and promotions every day to earn reward points or cash. Download the Naira Bets app or visit nairabets.com.
Good Magic's in front. Good Magic pulls away from Sobomini. Good Magic's gonna win his first race, and he's gonna do it in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
Good Magic to the front of the field in the Toyota Bluegrass to win it. The champ is back. Good Magic in a good-looking performance.
800,000, 75, 875, 8.5. Pete, 775,000. Thank you.
It's America's original sport, and no one covers it better than America'sBestRacing.net. From the sport to the lifestyle, the best races, horses, and destination venues, cocktails, gambling, fashion, and more. America'sBestRacing.net is a sport for you. Live it, love it, bet it.
You're watching America's Day at the Races on FS2. Thanks for being with us on this Friday card from Aqueduct and out at Tampa Bay. We have the Nightcap from New York coming up. No one's going to hit this pick six, so another carryover heading into Saturday's card. A couple of options where the pick 5 does not get hit.
Yeah, I was saved by the long shot in the outside Emerald Banker. If that horse wins, there will be a carryover.
Well, that's the lone option.
Yeah, that's the lone option, and that horse is a big outsider. In today's card, nothing would shock me.
Phenomenal woman, the 6th, the favorite at 2-1. Let's head downstairs to Maggie.
Taking a look at the inside runner in here, that is Love's Misery, who will try a route race on the main track for the first time. Now, she has progressively gotten stronger and more developed and just become a better actor while under the tutelage of trainer Rob Apprentice. She does come in here off of a somewhat poor performance, but I do think that looking at her, I like the stretch out and distance. I don't love the post position given the way the track seems to be playing today, but you couldn't ask a horse to look more well turned out than what she does, and just the added distance should help her. As we'll also check in with number 8, Fortune's Sister. Found it interesting she was protected off the layoff last time out running as a waiver. She didn't do much running that day back on January 8th, but possibly she needed it. I did think she looked fit, but I also think getting a little more ground to cover is beneficial to her because she has very long, rangy, very even frame. You know, she doesn't possess those big hindquarters. She's not built downhill from that angle. So I think this distance, at least physically, suits her a bit better, and she has a decent price right now of 11-1, Greg.
All right, Maggie, thanks. Our post parade here coming up in just a moment. Finale here, and then we have the finale out at Tampa Bay ahead. Several options in this last race. What were your thoughts here?
The finale in this race at Aqueduct? Okay. Listen, I chalked it out here with a 6 Phenomenal Woman. I don't know if I just sort of gave up at this point, but dropping back into a $25,000 claiming the level the horse was claimed at, I just thought she was better. She's got to get the mile. She was over her head. I would have used the 6, 7, and 10 in this race, who right now are the first 3 choices, but I'm nowhere close to being alive, to say the least.
Yeah, 10 was interesting, 9-2 on an incontrovertible.
Right, lost at 2-5 last time. Now a much better price. Drew well outside.
Here's Kendra Carmouche. He's on Love's Misery from the inside. Rob Apprentice.
He and the 3 come out of the same races, and I just thought they were, well, they hit the wire to get her 2 back. I thought it was a kind of weak race.
Cinnamon Dream, tough to endorse off the first 2.
Just hasn't done any running at this level.
I know you ain't talking to me, stretching back out on dirt for the first time.
I just thought there were faster horses in the race. I am a fan of this 10-pound bug rider, Elsa Morrison. She's shown a lot so far.
Really psyched. I thought a player in here.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I thought she might get a little bit better, but the last race was good and finished well in front of Incontrovertible.
One you just talked about, 2-1 favorite, Phenomenal Woman.
Yeah, it's a very logical horse. That's why it's favored for a trainer. Juan Vasquez has won a lot of races lately.
Yeah, 41%. Mongoose.
I mean, this is the kind of horse I don't usually endorse because the one dirt race is bad. Is I have to Dooley, though, was an okay dirt horse, some may remember.
Fortune's Sister, the 8-11-1, blinkers on.
I tried to make a case this second off a layoff for Bruce Levine, but I kept looking and thinking, off of what?
The debut was okay.
Okay.
Just okay,
right.
If that, and it's gone backwards since in the next 2 starts. Elegant Lauban, another one who's very tough to endorse. 11 starts, only hit the board once.
Speaking of Dooley, I believe that Keith O'Brien, who trained this horse, trained Dooley. It all comes full circle.
Yeah, look
Greg.
at that. 9-2, another player, Incontrovertible, Ned Allard.
Yeah, you know, the race 2 back was good enough to win here. The last race was a disaster. Can he bounce back? I'm always a big Ned Allard fan. Carol Cedeno in to ride this horse?
Yeah, and pick 5 does not get hit if this 11 wins.
This would be the upset of upsets.
Even Jonathan Kinchin did not have this one on his pick 5.
I think Jonathan and I have about the same number of winners. I didn't make a ticket like he did, but I'd be right with him at the offer.
Oh, yeah. This is one of those deals where I'm glad I didn't play the pick 6. Oh, there's a carryover, and then we can come back tomorrow. I thought the one Loves Misery does make a little bit of sense. That on the inside. Rob Atras is the type of trainer that I give him a couple of shots when he kind of gets a new horse to see what that horse wants to do. And I like that they're changing something. They've tried to sprint twice. That didn't work out. You get Kendrick again, who's ridden this horse the last 2 times. You get the rail, and you're stretching out. So I'm hopeful that Kendrick can maybe hustle this horse out of there, have the horse a little bit more forward, and just hopefully maybe this horse will appreciate a little bit of added distance. Previous trainers have tried to run this horse a little bit longer, taking a little bit of a shot with the one Loves Misery, because I agree with Andy. I thought the 6 Phenomenal Woman was the most likely winner. Look, the horse doesn't necessarily have the speed figures that make me feel like this horse can't lose, but the drop from maiden special weight and the connections. Vasquez is 34%, if I'm not mistaken, so far for the meet. When you have a trainer that's going that well with a horse who's dropping from maiden special weight to maiden claiming, you got to think the horse is extremely live. I think the 1 is where is a little bit more of an interesting play, but I do believe the 6 is the most likely winner.
And thank you, JK. Public agrees. 5-2 favorite. Andy does as well. Phenomenal Woman on Vasquez and the Apprentice, who's continuing to turn heads, Jose Gomez.
No, Jose Gomez has a real future. Angel Cordero is his agent, and I think he's learning a lot from Angel. And you know, he's learning under tricky conditions. He's been good at riding the inside, and a lot of Apprentice ride the inside, but now he's the last couple of days in a different racetrack, and you have to learn to adapt. And you know, we're not on the inner track anymore. And I always felt the inner track was the hardest track to ride, and yet a lot of times you'd see the younger apprentices ride on that track. He's getting good experience, Jose Gomez. He's certainly got the right tutor in Angel Cordero. And I think he is an apprentice with a real future. It's never easy to predict. I mean, we saw the Ortiz brothers. You saw Irad. You knew when Jose Ortiz had the bug, you knew that he was going to be a force when he lost the bug. But we've seen apprentices, and I'm sure you could say that you've seen more out west. Boy, this guy looks really good,
Yeah.
and they lose the bug, and it's so hard to get the business sometimes. But I think Jose Gomez has a real chance.
Well, he actually won so much, he lost the 10-pound weight allowance almost too quickly. Thought Angel Cordero didn't want him to lose it that fast, but he won too many races.
If I'm Angel, I want him to lose that bug sometime in April. So that, you know, the 7 pounds, so that he has a full year at 5 pounds, that he can, you know, get through next winter riding in New York. I'm eager to see how he does, you know, get some experience in turf races as well. And like I said, I can't imagine a better tutor than Angel, who I think in my and a lot of people's opinion is one of the all-time greats. I remember he's one of those great riders that people love to hate. He liked playing the villain. And I remember when he was retiring, a sharp person I know said, you know, people act like they're glad that Angel's going. They're all going to miss him when he's gone. And it's true. He was not just a great rider, a great presence in the game. And a rock star in Saratoga like nobody you've ever seen.
He really, a few places where I've been outside of the racetrack where I've seen him, and he walks in, he just lights up the room.
He does. He was, I mean, what he did in Saratoga, the way he dominated those cards, a lot of people remember. He rode a horse named Pete Ferriola named Our Tomboy in a mile and eighth race Saratoga and lost the irons. And he rode the whole way with his legs out. And I think the horse ran fourth, but he got in a contending position with the horse down the stretch. And that Our Tomboy was a legendary ride. But Angel was an incredible, incredible competitor.
Well, now he's passing on those lessons learned to this young man, Jose Gomez, on the 6, who only took him 43 mounts to lose that 10-pound bug to get to 7 pounds.
Incredible. I mean, that's got to be one of the fastest anyone's ever done it.
See if he can notch another win here on the 5-2 favor. The 6 here, Phenomenal Woman for Juan Vasquez. Nightcap from New York. No matter what happens here again, pick 6 carryover again coming up on Saturday. So a double carryover.
Yeah.
Sort of a triple.
Looking forward to that. Yeah, right. It's an odd situation. We'll hopefully get a chance to talk about some of those races before we leave the air today. I tell you what, we came within 10 minutes of the actual final post that we're trying to get done at 4:02. We did a pretty darn good job.
There's Jose Gomez. He just stepped in on the 6th. That's your favorite. We're set for the nightcap here. Still have Tampa Bay's finale coming up as well. Let's go to John Imbrial.
That puddle.
Yeah, it's a big one.
All set for race 9. And they're off. Incontrovertible. Elegant Lauban is there. Now coming on through is a Mondoose along with Phenomenal Woman down at the rail. It is Love's Misery. And I Know You Ain't Talking to Me is up close as they cross over from the chute now to the main track. And it's a 3-way battle up front. Love's Misery coming through down at the rail. On the outside is Incontrovertible. In between those two is Mondoose. Then it's a break of 3.5 lengths to Really Psyched, who's racing in 4th. I Know You Ain't Talking to Me down on the inside is next in 5th. Emerald Banker runs in 6th. Phenomenal Woman is next in 7th. And she's followed next by Elegant Lauban and Cinnamon Dream. And farther back in the pack there is Fortune's Sister. Love's Misery is the leader over Incontrovertible. The opening half went in 47-3. Love's Misery, Incontrovertible, I Know You Ain't Talking to Me, just off of them in 3rd. Really Psyched now gains some ground from 4th. Then it's Mondoose in 5th. Farther back, Emerald Banker down towards the rail is Elegant Lauban. They're at the top of the stretch. On the outside is Incontrovertible, who has the lead here. Love's Misery, and I Know You Ain't Talking to Me. Incontrovertible in front. I Know You Ain't Talking to Me moves to 2nd. Elegant Lauban down at the rail, along with Love's Misery, and then Really Psyched. It is Incontrovertible with a 4-length lead as they come on for the finish. Incontrovertible is the winner. I Know You Ain't Talking to Me was 2nd. And a big break back to a 3-way photo for 3rd.
5-1 to close out this Friday card here in New York. Incontrovertible. Ned Allard, Carol Cedeno.
We don't see Carol Cedeno come to New York too often. Well, she gets the win, and kind of a rocking chair win, an easy winner this race. Stalked on the outside and got it done. For those that were following the 6 Phenomenal Woman, she was virtually eased down the backstretch. I don't know if she ended up getting eased, but she dropped back very quickly after the start and just plummeted through the field, a complete non-contender. But Incontrovertible gets it done to close it out as the co-second choice.
Yet another favorite defeated. Just one winning in this pick 6 sequence that no one was able to put together. So again, a carryover into Saturday, 10-3, and it was the 9. 27-1 shot, Elegant Lauban getting 3rd.
Yeah, no, it's, listen, we've seen this for a couple of days. We've seen some very, very tough results. This pick 5 paid $48,517 for 50 cents. And there were five had it. People had 5 winning tickets. It paid, there were, I guess, just, the pick 5, it says paid $22,500. Oh yeah, there was 1 winning pick 5 ticket. And it appears that there were 3 horses, the 6, 9, and 10, all had 1 pick 5 ticket. The 9 somebody had. Wow.
The 9 was
yeah,
on
the 9
ticket.
was a 9 was a 5 or 6 for 22,000, just like the 6 and the 10. No, there's a 6 had 2 live tickets. Excuse me. The rest were 4 or 6.
5-1 finish to this card here in New York. We still have the finale from Tampa Bay coming up. When we return, we're going to remember a champion, the oldest living winner of a Breeders' Cup Classic, has passed away, the great Alphabet Soup. We'll be back.
The sun shines bright on Carryover. His first crops of racing age are showing brilliance on the racetrack with a high percentage of stakes winners. His versatility is evidenced by winners on all surfaces across the globe. And his offspring are lighting up the sales ring. With his biggest and best quality of books in the pipeline, the sun shines bright on this value sire. Carryover, standing at Gainesway.
Louis Couture's and Alphabet Soup fighting ungainly. Montsassafras clinging desperately to the lead. Alphabet Soup in with an upset chance. Cigar, the heart of it champion, trying to get him. It's Alphabet Soup. Cigar on the outside. Louis Couture's Alphabet Soup.
Ah, those Alphabet Soup beating the Preakness champ Louis Couture's and the great Cigar. As mentioned, going to break, oldest living winner of a Breeders' Cup Classic, passed away back on January 28th at Old Friends Thoroughbred Retirement Farm near Georgetown, Kentucky. He'd been there since 2015. That performance there, new track record time at Woodbine.
That was a pretty darn good field he was running against. Poor Cigar, a tough 4-wide trip there. Louis Couture's one of my favorites, just missing, but Alphabet Soup, he came up the right way at the right moment, and a pretty cool horse for sure. And always love to see those horses at Old Friends, too, with Michael Blowen. They do such a great job there.
Michael Blowen, we've seen that piece so many times about Old Friends and what this horse specifically, part of that piece, Alphabet Soup, what he means to them there. Very sad that he's not around anymore. And his best friend, a donkey named Gorgeous George, said, Michael Blowen said he is going to miss him terribly.
Oh, yeah, that's really great. I mean, I love that feature. We run it, but I enjoy watching it every time. And you see the love that Michael Blowen has. And I think that's what brings people into thoroughbred racing, the love of the animals. You know, I taped a podcast yesterday with our starter, Hector Soler, and you can listen to it if you want it. It came out across the board. And what really came out with him was his incredible love of horses and racing. You know, going to the track with his father and his grandfather as a kid in Puerto Rico and falling in love with horses. And now he ends up being the head starter at NYRA. He's been working at NYRA for many years, the gate, worked for Joe Orsino for many years. He tells his story, and it's just another case of somebody else that just loves the horses. And it's such a common theme in racing. And for those of us that feel the same way, it's so nice to hear.
Pennsylvania bred, by the way. Alphabet Soup.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder if he ever ran in Pennsylvania.
I'm going to say he did not. And he did not.
Mostly in California, right?
Yep.
You told me David Hoffman's, yeah.
Yeah. Incontrovertible takes the Nightcap. You just brought this up to me. I mean, if you have your DRF form in front of you, 2-5 favorite last time out, and everyone just kind of ignored him this time.
Yeah, it's one of those things, burned all the money. And as our friend and morning line maker David Aragona pointed out on Twitter, a all-women triple. Carol Daniel, Elsa Morrison, Jackie Davis.
Yeah.
Love that.
Elsa Morrison, we've mentioned her name quite a bit. She's riding great, and Jackie Davis doesn't get a ton of opportunities. She should get more.
I'm an unabashed fan of Jackie's. I think she's a terrific rider. And I get it. I understand why it's hard for her to get the chances. She just doesn't ride here that often. She's here in the winter. She started here, and, of course, Dylan's sister as well. Kay Davis, her sister, and of course, Robbie, her father. She's a very, very good rider, and she gives her horses their best chance to win.
This was tough to put together from right off the bat. Pendolino, $81 winner. 42 Ace was an extremely tough one to have. We thought Galena was almost impossible. The public did not. Went off at 5-1. We both probably wouldn't have used Mystic Knight, who was the favorite.
I would have used him on my ticket somewhere, and I probably had the last winner on the ticket somewhere. That would have been it. And I can say, I might have put $2,000 into this thing, and they would be the only two horses I would have had in the sequence. Seriously.
That's how hard it was.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, again, another opportunity tomorrow in a pick six. Unfortunately, for everyone who thought, oh, free square, happy medium is not part of the pick six sequence tomorrow.
Well, that'll make it even tougher. Let's, should we take a very quick look to see if there's anybody that people can really lean on?
Withers is not a race to lean on.
No, the Withers is a very competitive race. I have a goofy long shot idea. I'm looking through. I like some horses tomorrow, wherever good that's worth. But, well, there will be three of us up here. I think the MIG may be joining us tomorrow. So perhaps three jokers will be a hunch bet in the seventh race. The Withers looks tough. And I think a lot of people will like Golden Code in the last race. He might be one of the bigger favorites in the sequence, but not easy. And listen, we want to have good competitive racing, but it makes it tough.
Yeah, that's Todd Pletcher horse making his second start in the Nightcap. Not a gimme by any stretch.
Competitive.
Let's look at Tampa's card tomorrow. We're going to have Tampa all weekend for you, and they have a couple of graded stakes races on the card. Grade 3 Endeavor. Fillies and Mares, 4 and up, mile and a 16th on the turf. Lady Spite Spear.
She ran sort of sneakily well at Tropical Park Oak, where she ran third at 6-5. The problem is there's a lot of other speed signed on in this race between Nantucket Red and Katama Moonlight, so she's probably going to have to learn to rate. I do think she ran well. I think if she rates, and she has rated in one before in the Natalman, her second start, I think she'll be dangerous in here.
Yeah, speed makes her dangerous. You got a horse on the rail, too, though, with speed.
That's right. I mean, I don't know. She's not. It's very unlikely she's going to be in front. In Italian is not fast enough to be in front here. That's a Chad Brown runner. He has 2 in here, 2 for Peter Brandt. I think both of those horses will have to improve. In Italian appears to be the better of the 2 Chad Browns, but those horses have had good trips in their races, and this is going to be a tougher spot. I was interested in the 10 Oyster Box for Graham Moshe on the outside, coming back for her first start as a 4-year-old.
We brought up one of the horses running in the Tampa Bay earlier because a horse had been training with that horse that JK mentioned. That is Devamani as an 8-year-old. He'll be back in action for Chad Brown tomorrow. 6-time winner who has been off since June of last summer. Last start we saw him, he was a winner.
He had 2 triple-digit buyers in his last 3 starts. He only ran twice in 2021. This is a more competitive field he's meeting. He's 3-1 morning line. I'm actually more into the other Chad Brown runner, L'Imperator, because he gets back on Lasix. But obviously, Devamani's good races make him dangerous.
And a trainer who's, as we saw earlier in the card today, can get him to come back off the bench as good as anyone in this game, if not better than anyone in this game.
Yeah, I mean, good governance when you factor in the trouble, when you actually see the trouble, and then you factor it in. He ran a potential stakes-like performance in the year, but Get Smokin' is coming back. Tom Bush, who had been his trainer, retired, so this horse would Mark Cassie now. We'll see how he runs. He won this race last year. He's a speed.
Who disappointed last time we saw him in the poker, but now it makes more sense. Something obviously went wrong.
Well, also, that was a crazy, crazy fast pace. And I don't even think he ran that badly, getting beaten just 4 lengths. But as you say, something obviously went wrong. He hasn't run since July. Sherrill Spite, who comes out for the same connections, and the relative to Lady Spite Spear, I think Sherrill Spite is a very dangerous horse in here for Roger Atfield.
And we just had that female triple, by the way, 1, 2, 3. Emma Jane Wilson, another terrific female jockey. She'll be on Sherrill Spite in that race, 15-1 morning line. This is part of the cross-country pick 5 at Tampa Bay and the Endeavor. It starts with race 4 at Tampa Bay, includes the Endeavor and the Tampa Bay, and then 2 races, including the Withers on the road to the Derby from Aqueduct. JK put a ticket together for us.
He's going to embarrass himself twice today?
In the first leg, Andy, I picked the 1 and the 7, the 1 Gate Crew, the 7 Soft Power. Soft Power will probably be a horse that a lot of people will lean on for Chad Brown. I felt like Gate Crew deserved to be involved as well. I've suddenly fallen in love with these inside draws for turf horses. On to the second leg. I'm going to use 2, 3, 7, and 10. The 2 Bleecker Street, the 3 Lady Spite Sphere, the 7 In Italian, and the 10 Oyster Box. On to the third leg. I thought this was 6, 7, 10. We talked a little bit earlier in the show about Devamani. I think the 7 Get Smokin'. If we get the right race from Get Smokin', could be tough to beat in there. And then heading back to New York, I'm going to use in the fourth leg 4, 5, 6, and 7. I thought No Burn. If No Burn can find that race prior, didn't run particularly as fast last time, but I'm hoping No Burn can run that race that he ran 2 races back. And then to wrap it up, I juggled and thought about singling the 1 Constitution Lawyer. I love the draw. I love the speed from the inside, but I couldn't ignore the 9 early voting. I felt like this horse could take another step forward in his second start for Chad Brown.
He's going to attract a lot of attention. That's part of that cross-country pick 5. Be part of it tomorrow. Again, begins with that 4th at Tampa Bay. We have the Nightcap from Oldsmar, Florida. When we return, mile and a 16th on the turf for horses who have not won 2 in their careers. We'll be back with more on this finale right after this.
Run Happy, the #1 second crop sire by graded stakes winners and earnings. Run Happy is represented by Smile Happy, the Kentucky Derby individual future pool favorite. A leading dirt sire and now with an exciting Kentucky Derby hopeful. Call Bernie Sams now and book your mare to Eclipse champion Run Happy right now. Run Happy standing in stall 1 at Claiborne Farm.
This season at Oaklawn, we've got more of everything. More of the top thoroughbreds in the world. More days of live racing. And the largest purses in our history. All at a completely reimagined Oaklawn. Come be a part of this historic season at Arkansas's only casino resort.
Catalina Cruiser. He won 7 of 9 starts coast to coast with 6 triple-digit buyers and 5 dominating graded stakes wins, including a record in the Grade 2 True North Stakes. A son of leading 5th crop sire, Union Rags. A $370,000 yearling with an imposing physical and one of the best of his generation. There's only one Catalina Cruiser, now standing at Lane's End.
Racetrack Television Network brings you every race, from every track, on every screen, every day. With monthly packages starting as low as $5, RTN gives you great value and access to more live HD streaming and race replays than anyone. Visit RTN.tv today to sign up and watch on almost any device, including Roku and Amazon Fire. Use promo code TRYRTN for a 5-day free trial.
We're back on America's Day at the Races. It's a beautiful day in Oldsmar, Florida. They got one more race coming up on this Friday card. It's for horses who do not have 2 wins in their career. $16,000 claiming tag. Mile and a 16th on the turf. And Unexplainable, the 7. 2-1 favorite right now. Ran a big effort last time out against a horse named Take to the Skies, who's actually won 2 in a row. Before he broke his maiden against Maiden Special on the grass, he'd been very competitive in Maiden Special weight on the grass.
And it was a race where forward horses did fairly well. The first and third finishers were stalkers, so I thought he ran well to finish second. And Unexplainable seems like a good hunch bet for today in the race results we've seen. I thought the major 3 contenders, and no surprise here, were the 2 Real Wild Solution and the 5 Don't Mess with Tess, along with the 7. Though Don't Mess with Tess, to me, is a very, very generous price right now. I'm going to have to bet a few dollars on her.
9-1. She is the 5 for Lisa Allen. And the 9 taking some money, who has just 1 start. It was a maiden win, sprinting on dirt. Dam seems to be more of dirt sprint pedigree, Grand Dam as well. So I don't know about turf with the 9, Irish Dream Girl.
Yeah, I didn't think that was a turf horse that I wanted. The pedigree,
second choice right now.
And the one foal to run on the turf was over 1 and really much better in the dirt. There's really no pedigree at all. Yeah, I'm with you.
Meanwhile, Tammy's Orchid on the rail. There's the 1, just leaving your screen. 5-1. Comes in off a win on a race that was taken off the turf. But, well, actually looking for her first win on the grass. She was second on the turf, 2 back, the last time she was on the lawn, against the 3 who beat her that day, and right now it's 12-1.
Yeah.
Beyond a surprise.
Yeah, no, wait, where am I going? Beyond a surprise, excuse me. Yeah, I don't know. I just thought the maiden win was not good. I preferred others in here. Now, she is dropping after a tough race, though. I think why is the 5 impossible in here, dropping down? I mean, her race last time wasn't that bad. She kind of ran off a little bit, drops down. I thought she wasn't impossible.
Yeah, no, she wasn't that far behind Unexplainable. I just thought Unexplainable was much the horse to beat in here.
Oh, I agree. 7-5 is my biggest number. But 9-1, I can't resist that in the 5.
Unexplainable second last out against a better group. Don't Mess with Tess. The 5 was 4th in that same race. So she could certainly turn the tables. She was quick early last time out in front. It's the Nightcap from Tampa, Jason Beam, to close out the card.
It is to the outside draw to complete the line. She goes in. They're in the gate. And the race is on. The favorite, Unexplainable, hopped at the start, came away last. Irish Dream Girl in the green colors shows good early speed. Right to her outside, Beauty Genius is forwardly placed. And coming inside of them is Don't Mess with Tess as they go through that opening furlong. It is Irish Dream Girl, the leader. Irish Dream Girl in front into the stretch. Beauty Genius down toward the inside. Don't Mess with Tess. They're out second and third. And behind them, Miss Lane is 4th. Sayo is 5th right now, about 4 lengths off the leaders up front. Then we come back to Tammy's Orchid, who's down toward the inside. Unexplainable's rallied up, is now up to 7th. After that comes a Real Wild Solution. Beyond a Surprise, they race 8th and 9th. They're 2 clear of Farcical, who's at the back. So they go along that first turn. Don't Mess with Tess. Irish Dream Girl through an opening quarter in 23-1. Those 2 now pull 2.5, almost 3 in front of Miss Lane, who's away in the 3rd spot. Length and a half more to Tammy's Orchid. Right outside of her is Beauty Genius. They race as a team 4th and 5th. They're length and a half clear of Unexplainable, who's out in the clear in 6th now. Sayo's right to that one's inside in 7th. Then comes Real Wild Solution. Beyond a Surprise, still with the 1 beat, and that's Farcical, who continues to trail. Inside of a half mile left to go. Irish Dream Girl cut out that opening half in 47 2/5 seconds. Goes to the far turn, a length and a half in front of Don't Mess with Tess in the 2nd spot. Out 3 deep, Miss Lane continues to progress, is up on the outside in 3rd. Length and a half more to Beauty Genius. Unexplainable trying to get going from that 5th spot. Is about 5.5 lengths behind, trying to follow that move is Sayo. Beyond a Surprise is starting to lift in the yellow colors, is 6th right now, and about 5.5 off the lead. Irish Dream Girl comes to the top of the stretch, a length and a half in front of Miss Lane. Beauty Genius trying to rally up from 3rd. Beyond a Surprise, Unexplainable drop back a little bit there as they came into the stretch. Meanwhile, Irish Dream Girl snuck away. Irish Dream Girl to the furlong pole in front by 4.5 lengths. Beauty Genius down toward the inside, Miss Lane. They're 2nd and 3rd. Farcical's made up significant ground, but might be running for 2nd as Irish Dream Girl into the stretch, still clear by 5. Irish Dream Girl to win it here by 6 in the end. Beauty Genius was 2nd, then came Farcical. After that, Miss Lane, and Beyond a Surprise finished 5th.
Oh, overcoming that pedigree to actually take to the lawn looked impressive here, first time on the grass.
Yeah, and I think we've really kept our string alive. We've been clueless at Aqueduct and Tampa today. We've really we've been on top of our game. We promise to get good night's sleeps and be sharper tomorrow.
This filly now 2 for 2. Winning for John Vincent. John Basono on board for the winning ride. We'll see you tomorrow, 2:30 Eastern start time. On FS2 is Mystic Knight getting back in the winner's circle. for trainer Chad Brown, who also won with good governance after that really difficult trip early on. Hit the rail, steadied early, still able to get up for the win off the long layoff. Courvoisier we'll see tomorrow in the Jerome on the road to the Derby.